You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Okay, now the night shift's in. Did you say goodbye to Wayne as he goes?
Indeed. Congratulated him on his
He
birth
never
of his
talks to
son.
me.
What?
He doesn't talk to me.
Well, because...
We're going to have to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
If you might.
Probably because he thinks you're insignificant and irrelevant, Ivan. No, if you
Never.
No,
Never.
I
No,
don't
he
believe
doesn't.
that in him.
No, he might be a bit shy.
Could be shy.
Must
He-
be.
he's mellowed. Some of his days gone by. Now he's just live and let live. Let people cut in on the traffic. Don't toot people. Don't do this. Anyhow, he's going well. Now here we go. So I do this, and we interview people of interest. Hopefully, been doing it for 5 years. So we interviewed the man who just got shot, Mr. Sam Suleiman Abdul Rahman.
Abdul Rahman, yes.
Yeah.
Sam Suleiman might be another person.
It might be.
He might be.
Sam Abdul Rahman.
What was he like?
Anyhow, we interviewed him. Don Scott was here,
Yep.
And we interviewed him after he had been shot 8 times outside a cemetery. I thought he was gone to a wedding, but I don't know what it was. And I reached out to him through Sue, and he said, yep, he'll come in, and we spoke to him about the life he's leading, and so we reposted it because it was topical. And,
Yes.
well, have we taken a nice belting about, someone said, I'm glad your good friend has been shot to death, and what would you be giving the time of the day to people like that for? We give the time of the day to people like that because they are the people who they are. That's we've had. You couldn't believe it.
They lead a different life.
The mentality of people who say, "Why are you doing something?"
You should interview people of interest, and obviously he
That's
is
what
a
we
person
did.
of interest.
So it sounds like we're protesting too much, but not at all. The reason we did it is exactly the fact that he's been assassinated, and we had spoken to him not long ago about his life and what sort of life he leads. What? Yes, thank you. So I always forget. So if you want to hear the interview, we didn't film him because we hadn't been into filming, but
Yes.
you can listen to it on You Cannot Be Serious podcast on YouTube. And you'll see we always do a stand-up thing in front of the sign for 60 seconds to introduce him so you can see him there. And he lifted up his shirt and showed us all the bullet holes, and that got a run on all the newscasts this morning. Didn't quite say that it was us, but you could see the sign in the background. So if you want to listen to that on You Cannot Be Serious podcast on YouTube, go right ahead.
And
You think it could be the beginning of a new kind of war, like in the underworld? Because, obviously there was a big one.
Beginning.
Yeah, well, there's one it's been going on for a while, but an escalation. Because there's talk now, the rival gangs are already threatening each other. Like in today's papers, they're like, there's some sister or somebody who's like, I'm going to get this person.
Yeah, you don't think that's been going on ever?
Well, obviously it has. Obviously there was a
Did you
big
ever
one.
hear the series Underbelly?
Of course, that's
Came
what I'm
out in
talking about.
2001.
There was an explosion of that with Carl Williams, and
Yes.
when he was producing ecstasy in the 90s.
Yeah.
And
ahead of his time, wasn't he, Carl? Yeah.
Oh,
Sort of.
Don't speak highly of him, or you'll be accused
You'll be
of
next.
befriending
Yes.
felons and criminals.
How did he get along with Don, Sam?
He got on well with Don.
Did he?
Don
Didn't.
Don went straight for the jugular. He said,
What did he say?
Now, what sort of business and how do you get into this and what have you been doing and how much all that?
And what about the potholes?
Quite about the potter. No, that's all right.
he hit a pretty big one last night, didn't
So
he?
he did.
Ooh.
Now here I'm tempted not to dip a toe in the water here, but I am.
Okay.
And don't forget that we record this, so if anyone takes this out of context, we'll just replay it. So I have been bemused. The neo-Nazis in Adelaide. Could you tell me, Dick, what is a neo-Nazi? What is their aim? Why are they, under the banner of free speech, not allowed to say what they say? And is it... do they openly support the swastika or Hitler? Or if they, I presume, are white supremacists and want to promote the white race, abhorrent as it is to all of us, under the banner of free speech, what is it that they get into trouble for? Now, I know people say, listening to this, say, you'd be joking, wouldn't you? I'm just interested to know what group of people go around promoting, what are they trying to achieve, Dick?
Well, I mean, there are...
Don't give them credit for anything that they that you think or believe. Just what is it that they're on about?
Well, you know, I mean, there's always been what you call the extreme right. You know what I mean? And, you know, the extreme right, I guess, almost believe in, like, revolutionary violence.
Now, hang on, the extreme right, they want to, they're Aryans, they want to promote white
Well, they,
race.
for example, think, they think there should not be anybody in this country that is not white.
Well, why didn't you say that when I asked you what is their, that is their
position, yeah.
modus operandi.
Yes, correct.
So abhorrent as not one, I don't know if you, not one person in any thinking community would think that that's reasonable. But why in this day and age of free speech can't they say that?
Well, exactly. I mean, obviously you have people on the far left who can say whatever the hell they like, and they can advocate for revolutionary violence. For example, people who support Hamas. Many people support Hamas as a reaction to Israeli aggression.
A good analogy. So what is it? So what is it that gets up? What is it gets the law? We get the microphone almost up your nose, Ivan. Dick. Put that microphone down, or we won't see your head.
How's that?
Well, that's all right, as long as we can see your face. Don't want to put the microphone over your face.
But what is it?
What is it? No, you can go. What is it that so the police they come out of court with an Australian flag and they're not allowed to wear swastikas on your Nazi signs?
Yeah, no, you can fly, for example, what's it called, the communist symbol, which is the hammer and sickle, which killed over 100 million people in the 20th century, it should be remembered. I have no idea why these particular rules are particularly placed on you, or what you call elements of the extreme right. I don't know. It seems to be a political agenda, but I do think it comes from the fact that they feel that the politics of the extreme right is now moving more centre stage with people like Donald Trump, who isn't that. But they somehow associate him with that, if you know what I mean.
Well, you're not likening the neo-Nazis to what Trump's on.
Well, people call Trump a neo-Nazi.
No, but because they had nothing else, they could not attack Trump or his policies on anything else but trying to associate him with Hitler.
Yeah, but you do realise there's, like, say, socialism, right? There's people who believe in socialism, and then there are hardcore communists. Yeah, and then there are people that believe in nationalism, say Trump's nationalism, which is called right-wing populism is the particular brand of nationalism. And then there are people that are far more nationalistic, that go towards, what the National Socialists were about, Nazis.
A band of, just 1 minute, Ivan, you go in a minute. So a band of neo-Nazis went to Adelaide, or congregated in Adelaide on Australia Day, and they marched through with Australian flags, shouting what?
Well, I mean, they shout things like...
whites only in Australia.
Yeah, the anti-Jewish stuff too. That's a really big deal with them.
Anti-Jewish stuff.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. Because they see the Jewish, they believe that what people call the conspiracy, or the cabal or whatever, that it's attacking humanity. So they believe that to be specifically
when they say
Jewish.
Whites only, this is not directed at the Aboriginals. This is directed at anyone who's not white, I presume.
And obviously there are different gradients.
Half the country.
True.
Maybe.
It can be, yeah.
Well, so under the banner of free speech as opposed to hate speech, what is it that they've been rounded up for? For promoting what?
Well, they believe in promoting a white Australia, a white identity politics, white nationalism, which differs from, say, the nationalism of someone like Trump, which is more right-wing populism, which means anybody can be part of it. I mean, Elon Musk was born in South Africa. Vivek Ramaswamy is an Indian gentleman. So, it's about gradients. But I don't know why, for example, that the far right is particularly chosen for censorship, because there are people on the far left that advocate for Hamas, and they're regularly protesting. They're behind all these ridiculous Palestinian demonstrations. They openly advocate for violence, revolutionary violence.
And ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Iran and all that, who want to obliterate and wipe Israel.
Israel off the face of the earth, that's what they would like.
So if people are listening to this, and how would you know what I'm saying if you're not listening to it? Before they say, you've got to be joking, you dumbass, neo-Nazis. I'm just interested to know what are they on about.
I can get one of them on if you like, Sam.
What?
You want to talk to one of them? There's Thomas Sewell. He's
So
one of the
you
major
know
ones.
them, do you?
I can get hold of them. I don't know them personally.
You're
There's
not
a
a neo-Nazi, are you, Dick?
No, I'm not, mate. But there's a guy called Blair
You
Cottrell.
took that seriously. You took
Well, sure, you asked me, didn't you?
Well, I asked you if you're. That's right. If I said
No, I'm
you're
not.
You're
No.
not a pedophile, are you, Dick? And you
No,
said,
mate.
No. Look, I'm not a pedophile. No, mate. There was a throwaway line which you took seriously, which makes me worried.
Do you think they need an image change, the neo-Nazis? Do you think?
It's a very
that-
good question.
Well, I watch the news, just like you guys and all the listeners. I never heard them talking about Jews out and white Australia policy. I'm assuming that that's probably what they're on about.
Sure.
But when do you fall from the
Tag of neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
To something. What name would you give them then?
Oh, geez, I don't know, something a bit nicer than neo-Nazis. But
White is right. Oh, just not a bad slogan.
I wonder where that come from.
That's one of their slogans, I think. Yeah.
Is it?
No,
It is.
oh, geez.
Well, I must have heard that subliminally because I thought I just made that up. So there you
Well,
are.
where do you stand as being an Australian, a patriotic Australian, and then falling into the camp of the neo-Nazis?
Yes.
Like there must be a line that's blurred where where people
They
just
are
get
ferociously for Australia, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
An Australian, as viewed as like, say, the white Australia policy.
So
they are really in
they're,
favour.
they're
Radical.
They're radically and viciously for white Australians.
And they believe we're being replaced. They believe like white Australia is being replaced by foreigners, and then when that's complete, we will be a minority in our own country.
Yes, so that's not palatable to most of us. And if you're listening to this, it's not. But do they have a right to say that's what we believe in, and why can't we say that?
I definitely think you have a right to say anything politically, in my opinion. I don't believe in hate speech. I believe with someone like Jordan Peterson, who says that basically hate speech is just speech you don't like. Because, for example, there's speech on the left that many of us on the right might not like, but many of us on the right agree that you have the right to say that. And so I think the left should feel the same.
So
I might not like...
So Ivan's got a good point. He said, why don't they have an image change? If you could possibly change an image of not wear the swastikas. If they did they wear swastikas? They said that's an illegal...
I think it's illegal now.
Illegal sign.
It's illegal, I think, in Victoria. But
we'll just say it's illegal in Australia. Why don't they just take the swastikas off and stop yelling out? I don't know. What if they don't yell out, "We love Hitler"? They don't do any of that.
I don't think they do.
I don't know.
Many of them are not, they don't necessarily believe in Hitler, but they believe in like a kind of a version of that kind of politics within Australia. So in a sense, they're not.
What do you mean? So the version of Hitler's politics was to eradicate the Jews. Is that part of their platform?
The Nazi agenda or whatever, you have to study history. It was 80 years old. It's dead and gone, for example. It's like, say,
Do the
Stalinism.
Nazis in Adelaide, were they saying death to the Jews subliminally?
They weren't saying that. No.
Well, would they hope that the Jews don't exist?
Well, they certainly want to point out that there's a Jewish conspiracy going on. That's one of their agendas, yeah.
Well, if what about we had some people up at Sydney Harbour Opera House chanting "Death to Jews," "Gas the Jews"? That was about 12 months ago.
That
what
was
happened
a
to them?
group of left-wing people, yeah. That was a group of Palestinians.
So that's my point.
Yeah.
Why is it so... if I say, once again...
You're making a good point, though. I understand what you're getting at.
Thinking that I'm on the side with any of those, I'm just saying there's plenty of people say plenty of things that are unpalatable about a whole lot of other groups, and other groups say pretty savage about what they say, and no one takes any. They stand in front of Parliament House, they march down the streets. I'm just wondering, when the neo-Nazis march down the streets, besides yelling, what do they yell out, or what are they saying? They're saying we just want white people, and no one agrees with that except them. And why can't they say that?
Well, for example, you can talk, for example, if you're any other kind of ethnic minority. For example, if you're an Aboriginal group and you want to talk about Aboriginal identity, like black identity, I mean, the ABC will have you on 2 nights a week, you know what I mean? But for example, if you wanted to talk about white identity, you would not.
Well, why wouldn't the ABC have one of the... I would like to speak one of those people. I'd like to speak anyone who has a difference of opinion. I'd like to speak to someone who dislikes Trump intensely. But no one...
A lot
Very
of
few people come on because I don't know why they don't come on.
a lot of left wingers won't debate you because you're so intelligent, Sam, and they will.
no, it's so
and no, you'll kick. I mean, you won't actually. You'll kick their ass verbally.
So we asked a windmill man,
Windmill man.
windmill man?
What do you call him? No,
A big windmill.
Jesus, a wind farm.
Wind farm, yeah, of course.
Bloke who invented,
Yes,
or not,
yes.
what?
He puts them up around the world.
He puts
Yeah.
them up around the world, and we asked him to come on, and I think they're completely useless. It's a fraud. They're exploiting everyone.
Yep.
But he didn't know I had that opinion, and Sue contacted him, and he's out here from Germany or Denmark, and he's on a tour here, I think, to try and sell some more wind farms.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, he'd love to come on, and because any chance he can speak about renewable energy, and so we sort of semi-booked him, and then he rang Sue and said, he was a bit busy and he couldn't come on, and I got a feeling he might have mentioned that he was going to come on here, and and I would absolutely say to him, mate, I have got more information about how useless these are. Could you tell me why I'm wrong?
Yeah.
And I got a feeling he wouldn't come on, but he was delighted to come on and talk about it as long as no one was going to push back on.
As long as he's
And
selling
if he
stuff.
convinced me that they were, there's 150,000 people working on wind farms as we speak in America, and they're completely useless. So
They are
a
useless,
lot of the people, scientists and people who look into these matters say, and they're not only bad for the environment, they're not producing what they say they'll produce. They are an eyesore on the landscape. They can't get rid of them once most of them don't work, not working. They're in a state of disrepair, most of them. The oil that's needed to make them crank them up is not biodegradable. There's a whole, but he might say yes, but and we
They are
can't.
good at one thing, Sam, which is making money for the people who build them.
So that was my point. They've exploited a niche in this renewable energy climate, the great Green New Climate Deal scam that Biden was on about, that Trump has now put the kibosh on.
He has.
And it's just billions of dollars going to people who make them, fabricate them, sell them, and it's a rort.
The blades.
total rot.
The blades. What
The
happens
blades.
to the blades? Because they're not recyclable.
No, they're not.
So they get buried at the moment.
Correct.
And there's
That's the
in the
perversity
US,
of it.
there's
So if we got that
Tons of
man
them.
on...
They're not actually green. I mean, they're supposed to be green, but they're actually more destructive to the environment than not doing them.
And
You know
so
what I mean?
if we got that man on, who was delighted to come and speak about renewable energy, he could tell us that what we're saying is absolute nonsense. And we'd say, we had the climate change. I had a man called William
Kinnenmonth.
Kninmonth.
Yes.
William
Good-
Kninmonth got his
good,
book.
smart fella.
He was the climate attaché, or the climate representative at the Kyoto Agreement on Climate under Hawke's government. Who was the previous Prime Minister? That might have been a previous Labor government. Mm-hmm. He went over to the Kyoto Agreement, and he wrote a book saying that the climate change is absolute nonsense. Climate changes, and has been for hundreds and thousands of years, due to the wind, solar flares, the tides,
Volcanoes.
and anything else that emits crap into the... He said that the volcanoes going on, there's 1,000 active volcanoes around the world. They put more shit into the atmosphere in a day than mankind has in its
Hundreds
lifetime.
of years.
Definitely.
And so...
And
he
Will was head. Just a bit of context. Will's not some crackpot that's out there down at Bay Street. He's head of the BOM, the Bureau of Meteorology.
Yes.
So he's got a little bit of credibility.
So he gets roundly condemned by the elite, who push back on the fact that the public purse that funds them might be taken away from them. They might have to actually get a real job.
Exactly.
So all those. So we spoke to Will, and we'd love to speak to. And as I asked Bob Brown to come on.
What do you say? Nothing.
He just said no. He didn't think our podcast was a good fit for him.
See, I think
least
that's bad.
It'd be perfect for him.
At least his his PA, who was a man,
Yeah.
who's a very pleasant man, got back, said Bob doesn't think it's a good fit to come on this show. And that's fair enough. No one has to come on the show. But it's not as though we just speak to people who are like-minded. We like to speak to people actually predominantly who aren't like-minded. So that's how did I get onto that? Oh, yeah, that was
Wind
Sam
farms.
Suleiman Abdul Rahman.
Yes, there it is.
So someone said, "Oh, you seem to get on with him." I said, "Get on with him. He came in here. We didn't. Of course, we get on with him. We get on with him. But it wouldn't matter who was in here. We get on with people. What the hell's coming on? What would you ask him to come on for? If you're going to be antagonistic, deliberately antagonistic, we might be antagonistic with what we say, but we appreciate them coming on and fronting up." Unlike
I think that's a
Tony
shame.
Jones, who I asked to come on and
Tony.
explain why he said that Novak Djokovic was has-been, and Fiona Byrne, who took a belting. Who those two people at the drop of a hat asked me for a comment when I say something controversial, but won't step to the plate.
Tony's-
And no matter what their excuse, they won't step to the plate.
Tony is hilarious. I gotta love him. He's the train wreck you gotta have when everyone else is absolutely like a cookie cutter, like there no personality. Tony's got a personality. Well,
Well, I think that's a problem with television. And also, growing up in the 70s
It
and
nearly
80s,
ended the Australian Open.
growing up in the 70s and 80s, having people on TV shows who have differing opinions was a regular thing. You would see Labor, Liberal, whatever, radical left, radical right. It was common to see that. But for whatever reason, you don't see that so much anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons we have such division in our society. For some reason, the left, due to political correctness and other things, don't want to come on a show like this because they think they might agree with Sam on something. They might say, you know what, renewable wind farms are a bit useless. And then next thing you know, they're going to be like, oh, this person, whatever.
Okay, so people are waiting for this, I know, but Donald Trump right now, so he's
Term 2 begins.
He's actually turned the world upside down. Whether you like that or not, that is a fact. Whether you agree with him or not, he has turned the world upside down. So this staggered me, that the previous administration in a month let 12,000 illegal crossings, and Trump has got it down in one sector of the border down to 60 people as opposed to 12,000. Why have 60 people got in, is my point. Why is there anyone coming in?
No, exactly.
Unless they're sneaking in and they can't cover the whole of the border unless they've got drones going up and down and they...
Well, it is a big border. So obviously the 60 are only getting in,
well, I'm
sneaking
staggered that anyone's got in.
Maybe they're
obviously
skinny. Maybe they're
the
skinny.
cartels are having, they have tunnels. And then maybe they're letting immigrants... There seems to be some kind of animosity going on now between Trump and the cartels. There's talk of Donald Trump using the military, which of course should have been done a long time ago. He should declare them international terrorists, and then he can basically go into Mexico, like say he goes into Afghanistan or wherever it is, a terrorist group that he doesn't like, and to basically wipe them off the face
You
of the
make
earth.
a good point, Dickie. They found a tunnel, they've just found since Trump took over, a tunnel from Mexico under the border that is almost a 2-lane highway. You can drive trucks through it. It is extraordinary engineering feat of that's how they get the drugs and the people in. And Pete Hegseth has now given the okay for the military to be used, if needed be, to patrol the border.
Good.
And how can people? And so they've rounded up the illegal immigrants, the people who have been convicted of crimes and being part of gangs and raping people and child exploitation. They are now going after them, and the opposition, the Democrats, are saying, "Oh, you can't deport people who are over here and don't do anything wrong and pick all the crops for all the owners." Well, they're not going after those people.
No, they haven't been,
They're
have
going
they?
after the
criminals.
absolute criminal
Worst.
felons, the worst of the worst, and they're rounding them up. How could anyone disagree with that? But of course,
They
they're
do.
going to find they can't
have to.
find anything else to disagree with Trump on. So he's been in office for. If you don't think I'm a Trump supporter, I am. So he's been in office
A week.
6 days. And they said, well, the price of eggs haven't come down and groceries are still expensive. You could not believe the mentality of people in the mainstream media and cable news.
Yep.
How MSNBC, it probably won't be on the F much longer because no one, how those people can look into a camera and know that they are lying and they don't believe what they say, but just because Trump has said this, they say the opposite. It is, and it's a bit like it here. How and I did mention this with Wayne, but how can Anthony Albanese stand in front of a woman who has Murdoch? She's quite entitled to wear that shirt. That's I'm not actually criticising her.
Grace Tame.
Grace Tame. How would the Prime Minister of Australia stand and give time on air publicly to someone standing in front of me with that T-shirt on?
He doesn't like Murdoch.
But what?
You can bet Anthony Albanese doesn't like Murdoch.
But that's exactly the point, Dick. If you were the Prime Minister and someone, it wouldn't matter. If someone stood in front of me and I was the Prime Minister and said, I love Joe Biden or fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. If someone stood in front of me and I was the Prime Minister, I'd say, hey,
come on, mate.
I'm not having a conversation where you've got that offensive T-shirt on. No matter who it is you're saying you don't like, have some manners. If you want to engage with me, wear it away from here, but I'm not going to be stand next to you with that thing on screen while I'm speaking to you.
You wonder how that's
gutless is he not to say that?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I mean, obviously, the Murdoch press reaches at least about half Australia. So, and not, I mean, a lot of Murdoch press readers may vote Liberal, but not all of them. There would be Labor people who read because it's a working class paper, the Herald Sun.
My point is, it doesn't matter if it's Murdoch or who it is. If it's someone that you disliked, you still wouldn't let it just be seen speaking to someone and says, what about if somebody go to the extreme says, go and fuck yourself, Joe Biden, or go and fuck yourself, Donald Trump, and you're standing in front having
trying to have a reasonable conversation.
Chat to the Prime Minister.
Yeah. I mean, Dutton
take that T-shirt off, come back, and I'll chat to you.
Dutton wouldn't do that. Dutton wouldn't, for example, stand next to somebody that said, whoever owns the left-wing media Fairfax, he wouldn't go on air with somebody that says,
you don't know
fuck
that.
Fairfax. But I don't think he would.
Well, you say you don't think he would. When he does, we'll be as critical of him.
True.
And so a little closer to home, Ivan, have you ever been run over by a electric bike on the footpaths? They're now starting to say, well, this is ridiculous. People are just riding scooters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Have I ridden a scooter on the footpath?
Have you fallen off a scooter?
Have I ridden a scooter? I don't think I've ridden a scooter on the footpath. Maybe.
Are you a scooter man?
Well, I've got a scooter just to get around because I've got one of my pins is not working properly. That's why I do it.
But yeah, I know of a person who got cleaned up by an electric bike.
Yes,
it was
on the footpath.
Whispering death. They called
on the footpath.
On the footpath.
Yeah, so that's the point. That there should be. Don't you think there should be a law now that you can't ride electric scooters and bikes on the footpath? After all, it is a footpath. And if you can't hear them coming, and so it's all right to say people drive them carefully, but there's a percentage of people who don't drive them carefully and couldn't give a stuff.
True.
And
now those bikes, they're not just your lime bikes or your orange bikes. Yep. These are the souped up ones. Some of them can travel at about 116 kilometres an hour.
Down the footpath if you're just come out of the supermarket and there goes your shopping.
So that's like having a car on a footpath.
Yeah, I've nearly been cleaned up by one tore past me on the footpath one stage and I was just like, what the fuck?
So is it Big Brother, is it Big Brother now stopping your infringing on your civil rights to do something? It is reasonable to say you shouldn't be able to ride a powered scooter on the footpath, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there are bike lanes. I mean, I don't agree with bike lanes, but why can't they use them? I mean, surely there are enough of them in the city I mean, you can hardly move a car in the city anymore. So can't they at least use, because no one ever else seems to use them.
They got rid
They're
of
usually empty.
The scooters, the electric scooters.
Yeah.
Or the battery scooters for there were so many incidents with people being injured and taken to hospital, so they banned them, except for personal
Tell me if
ones.
you've noticed this, Ivan. In fact, you were late today. You had to bed in the new cleaner.
No,
Not
just
bed in as in go to bed with her or him.
We had to let the old cleaner go.
Why had she been pilfering
She
shit?
was a bit old.
Bit old.
How old is she? 102?
Couldn't clean up your flat for you. What you have? What job are you doing at
His
the minute?
grandmother.
You currently involved in any vocation, Ivan?
None that I want to admit to.
Why couldn't you clean the fucking flat?
He's
while
a
your
gentleman
missus-
of leisure.
I'm not good enough.
What?
No.
What? To hold a vacuum cleaner and do some dusting? Get Mr. Sheen out.
So we've got a new girl who's in today. So and I don't think she'll last
New
too much.
girl. You don't think she'll get it? She's not too good either.
The tough standards, have you,
she
Ivan?
probably gone the other way. She probably looks too good. So we'll probably have to let her go.
Hello, the missus clamped down. Hello. Why
You got her in a maid outfit, like, you know, French maid.
Why did
No,
I
the old
mention
one
that?
took
There was
that.
some reason I mentioned that, Ivan.
Oh,
No. Now, so have you noticed? Now, I've noticed this. The proliferation of dog shit on all the walkways. So
metaphor?
what happens is that people walk ahead of their dogs while they're walking them. They're not on the leash, and they pretend they're not noticing that the dog's having a crap. And then if someone says, "By the way, your dog's just had a shit," and they say, "Oh God, has it?" And they rush back and pick it up. Yep. In the end, people with dogs see dog shit here, and then they'll walk up another 10 metres and there's dog shit there. And in the end, they say, well, everyone's dog's shitting on the walkways, and it's carte blanche. There's dog shit everywhere.
There is.
We have renamed the docklands the dog shit lands. There's a sea of urine outside anything that's standing. That's doorways to hotels, doorways to apartments, chairs on tables. There is dog shit and dog piss, and people eventually are just turning a blind eye to it because they say, everyone's doing it, why not me? That, along with graffiti, and along with rubbish, graffiti and littering and dog shit. In this day and age when you have to wear a mask in case you give someone COVID unless you're 6 feet apart from them, what is the risk of dog shit and dog piss flowing down our footpaths and on our boulevards? What is that, the risk of getting it on your shoes and taking it into your house and eating it by mistake because you've touched your shoe? People who own dogs are...
hang on. I've got a question for you.
People who own dogs are very nice people, and the dogs, it's not the dog's fault. It's the way they're brought up, it's the way they're handled, and if you're so much in love with a dog that you let it do that, you shouldn't be entitled to have
Have
a
you ever
dog.
watched the dog? The dog has the shit, and then the dog is wondering, what the hell are you doing? It's like, I'm trying to get rid of it. You're picking it up. It's like you're collecting my shit.
Now, a
The
question
dog is
for
very
you.
Never
perplexed.
noticed that, Ivan.
Dog shit.
Dickie. What?
Dog shit. When I was growing
that?
up,
What's that?
sorry, dog poop or dog
No,
shit?
dog shit.
Yep.
No, I like it.
When I was growing up years ago, dog shit was white. Now,
Only if the sun got to it after a while.
is that what it is?
Of course it is. If it just sits out in the sun,
Yeah,
the sun bakes it and it goes white.
So therefore, we never used to pick up dog shit in the old days. If it
no,
was
we
white.
probably didn't, because there wasn't as many dogs, and there wasn't as many apartments, and people didn't have them in apartments, and there wasn't as many walkways. If that's 50 years ago, there's a fantastic Eddie Murphy did a fantastic. He was been banned, of course. He made furniture out of white dog shit, and he came into his house, and they used to sat. There was that much dog shit in his neighbourhood. At the project, they'd made a couch out of it, and the whole flat was furnished in white dog shit.
But it doesn't happen. But it doesn't happen in Singapore. It doesn't happen in Japan, and it's not like they don't have dogs.
No,
it's
they
just
eat
that they
them.
have.
Yeah, dogs.
That's Korea. That's Korea.
Well, no, I think they eat them in Japan, don't they?
Well, they'll probably eat anything.
dog
They'll
eating
eat-
fest in China. They eat them.
China,
Yeah,
they
no,
do.
China. They love.
Barack
They love a good
Obama
dog. Yeah.
used to eat dogs.
Yeah, well, he did definitely.
Yeah,
Indonesia. Yeah.
Barry Obama.
Barry.
ate
Barry Suharto.
Barry and Michael.
That's his real name.
Hussein.
Hussein
Obama.
Suharto.
Now, I've got a topic here for you.
Sotero. That's it.
Piercings.
You've got
Cardi B. Have you ever heard of Cardi
Yes.
B? I think
Is
she's
that
a
the
singer.
wet ass
Yeah.
rap? Wet ass pussy? Yep.
I
See
think
that
you're
big,
right.
large, overweight,
No, I think
obese woman?
she's up there, but
She's up there.
no, you're thinking of Lizzo, her
Yeah.
good friend.
Good friend.
Cardi B, the US singer, she has her butt crack pierced. So that's a new one.
pierced.
Where
Her-
do you
Pierced.
pierce that?
So
Kind of
Yeah,
Hang
between
on.
the cheeks.
between the cheeks.
Between the
and has
cheeks.
she got a lock on them? So
it's
she's
like a
got
chastity
hole,
belt.
got a hole in one arse cheek,
Yep.
and a hole in the other, and she puts a bar or a lock across them so no one can have anal sex with her. Is that what it
It's
is?
a bit like a car, a bike thing.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Or is it to
Yeah.
hold the cheeks in so she can get her jeans on?
No, I think it's a fashion statement.
Well, speaking of that, the interview that we're putting on today is from a lass, very charming lass called Aisha Paris Smith, and she is a sexologist, a somatic sexologist. She was out here on assignment. You want to her, and you'll be staggered at what she does to help people overcome their sexual inadequacies.
Really?
Do you reckon I was sitting on the edge of my chair listening to this?
Does she look good? Does she?
Does she look good? Right. She made Cardi B look like the back of a handball court. Wow. She was a
hard to do.
star.
Good advice.
So so she's had
All right, so she's
her
on.
bottom cheeks pierced with a view to what?
No,
Tie
fashion
a yellow
statement.
ribbon round them?
I
old
think
oak
she
tree.
would want to get this fashion statement going,
Really, I think it's
and
fashion.
then
Yep.
have it all directed back at her.
I think I'll give that a miss.
So what would you do too? No, so here's I just saw this on the news as I was coming down. We're trying to actually speak about things we didn't chat to Wayne about. Wayne wouldn't chat about these
No,
things
he
because
doesn't
he's
talk
not
to
into
me.
all this thing.
Yeah,
There's a
what-
TikTok woman who wanted to be a star on TikTok, poisoned a baby or gave a baby drugs so it would be clinically ill, so she could film it, the baby,
Yeah.
and how she was trying to bring it
Get
back
attention.
to life and get attention. Can you believe? So, do you know the only thing in the world you don't need a license for?
Having a
Yep,
baby.
yep.
To breed.
You think we need one?
You can knock anyone up, man, woman, or beast. You don't have to have a license for that.
Do you think we need one?
Well,
Well.
there's got to be some sort of test if you're going to
I've always thought you should need a license to have a, to
have
breed.
to make someone.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, jeez.
No, Sue
That's-
makes a very
yeah,
good point,
good point.
off camera.
Yes.
It's called marriage. Of course, the greatest food, the greatest food to curb your sexual prowess, to curb your sexual appetite, the greatest food you can eat is what?
To curb it.
Yeah, to curb it, to stop. Yeah, to curb your sexual advances on someone.
Garlic?
Wedding cake.
Wedding cake.
All right.
Now,
Another thing that I saw, the
That's
birds.
called, hang on, that's called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Have you heard of that before?
No, Dick.
That's when people, it's actually a phenomenon where a parent makes the child ill to get attention.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
right.
what this.
Okay.
Munchausen symptom by
Well,
proxy.
we've got Mrs. Munchausen has probably been arrested by the coppers as we speak.
Good.
Have you ever heard of this building called the Burj Khalifa?
Yes,
It's
the
the
tallest building in the world.
It's
Yes.
in Dubai.
Dubai. Yep.
They had the Aussie flag projected up onto it
Australia Day.
for Australia Day to commemorate 50 years of goodwill and custom between Dubai
Fantastic.
and
Very nice.
Australia.
Well, that is a feel-good
How good's that?
thing that you've mentioned, Ivan, because if you're tuned in to watch the Australian Open, the respective winners, Miss Keys and Mr. Sinner, stood in front of 3 different flags up on the dais, and people around the world will be saying, what the fuck is that about? And the bullshit they carried on with about whose stadium. Don't start me. So what a refreshing attitude, and this is what Dutton's going to do. We're going to have one flag, and we're not going to be able to fly any other flags. Trump's done this. We're not going to be able to fly any other flags above American buildings. No pride flags, no any other flags except the American flag. No message flags.
State
no
flags?
We should, do that, we should do that here in Australia. It should be just the Australian flag, no more Aborigine, no more Torres Strait Islander, which I don't even recognise. I saw it once and go, what the hell is that flag?
No, but the flags are okay if you are from that group, but not if you're going to fly it above the... I don't know why we're
Government
all dividing the country by having different symbols and emblems. And now, just finally, this is from me. Someone has started a grass fire at 2 o'clock in the morning out at Altona.
Insomniac.
I drove past that the other day.
It's only just been started.
Today?
Yeah, this morning.
Where were you
but
this
there was
morning?
one over in...
Maribyrnong.
No, there's one out at the little desert, which is
it's a big one.
ravaging. So, what would you do to someone who is a what do you call those?
Arsonist.
An arsonist, yeah.
Yep.
Firebug.
A firebug, that's right. A firebug. What would you do to someone who
Military
potentially
tribunal?
is trying to burn down? I was trying to think of that joke about bloke who didn't know the difference between incest and arson. Went home and set his sister on fire. What would
It's a
you
fresh
do?
one.
Yeah, it's a goodie, isn't it? Went home.
What would you do to the firebug?
What would you do? And they
when
reckon
you catch
a
'em?
fair amount of them over in America have been started by either domestic terrorists or
Yep.
international terrorists. That's a conspiracy theory.
That's
what
true.
would you do if you found the bloke, woman, person who'd set fire to? What would you do?
The government, at times, for example, during a natural disaster, will say that looters will be shot. And I think during a situation where there are fires like what you've seen in Los Angeles, I think if Trump were to say that the National Guard will shoot anybody caught committing arson, I think that would be quite reasonable. That would be my opinion.
What
And-
would we do here? We
You
wouldn't
got
shoot
anything
people.
else, Dick?
Yes, RFK, JFK, the files. Donald Trump
Yes.
has released that. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, and what's it said?
Well, we haven't actually got the files yet, but he's announced that they're going to
Yes,
be
I
released.
know he
So-
said that, but we want to know, was the CIA, did they kill Kennedy? Was it the Russians? Which certainly wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald acting alone.
correct.
He could hardly write his own name, let alone work out how to kill someone. And the man who shot him, the nightclub owner, can't think of his name.
Jack Ruby?
Jack Ruby.
Jack Ruby,
Yep.
yeah. And
Yep.
what was his involvement? So that'll
Yep.
be good.
That will be
so
good.
that's coming up.
I saw a video.
January 6th, everyone from January 6th has been freed.
Yep, and
Which is new.
Yes, and,
Yep, and one of the
they
coppers shot
still
one of
hanging
them
their
dead.
hat on that. And the copper who was shot said, "Yeah." Trump's attitude on that was that there were some serious people who got pardoned. Just look at the people that Joe Biden pardoned, all those people in jails and murderers and rapists. But Trump says in order to go through the 1,500 people in jail individually, we're given a blanket pardon, and the people who have been more aggressive and done more abhorrent things have already spent 3 or 4 years in jail. So we're going to start again. And they're still, the left is the only thing they can hat their hat on, that they're saying, oh, it's a disgrace, and they never bring up what Biden did.
Water has been a problem in fighting the fires in Los Angeles, and because there's some kind of environmental law that stopped the water flowing freely in California. According to Donald Trump, he sent in the military to cause the flow of water down from Northern California, of which there is plenty. So now the water is flowing freely in Southern California. And of course, the Democrats are denying that's what happened, but it is flowing freely now. What do
You
you think
got
of
to
that?
love that, Donald. He was speaking to the mayor of Los Angeles, a pleasant-looking black woman who had just been over at Uganda just when the fires were on, looking at someone being sworn in, and flew back.
Yep.
And he asked her a question. She started to speak shit, so they took the microphone away from her, and she's just speaking. You can see her mouth moving, and he said, "No, you're not on,
like,
Dale.
that's enough of
You're
you."
speaking absolute nonsense." All right, now
All right, I've got one more.
Well, that's it.
Can I leave you with? This will make your mind explode. The inauguration was last week. This is Donald Trump's inauguration.
Yep.
There was a guy sitting there in a wheelchair. He was alive, and he was 94 years old.
Yep.
His name was Harrison Tyler. Okay. Harry, 94 years old. They were there for the Donald Trump, President 47th President.
47.
This guy, Harrison Tyler, his grandfather was President 10.
Wow.
President of the United States.
Yep. His grandfather was President of the United States. John Tyler was his name. He was born in 1790. He was the 10th president. That is 234 years between Harrison Tyler and John Tyler. John Tyler, he's born in a slave trading Virginia family. They've been this guy Harrison.
He was
been
asked,
on the family home.
He said he was asked, "Why were you born in Virginia?" And he replied, "Well, I wished to be near my mother at the time." Go on.
Oh, jeez. So this guy, John Tyler.
Yes.
You ever heard of a guy by the name of Thomas Jefferson?
I've heard of Thomas Jefferson.
Have you ever heard of Thomas Jefferson?
well, I'm an Aussie, not American. The guy's grandfather was was mates with Thomas Jefferson. They were around the same year. It's like saying So I was having a conversation last night. It's like saying your grandfather was mates with Captain Cook. That's the timeline.
I was mates with Captain Cook. That's how old I am.
Imagine that.
I can remember the Dead Sea when it was just sick. Ivan, the only thing I got from that set of figures you gave me was that Donald Trump is the 47th president, and Mr. Roof Tyler was the 94 years old, and 47 and 47 are 94. And isn't that extraordinary how that's the only thing I went to when you gave those figures.
I've lost my audience then.
No, that's good. No, that's just the way people's minds think.
But there was one just snippet of information. He died, so John Tyler, so President 10 was aged...
Unusual facts.
He died. Unusual facts. Yeah, this is interesting.
Fell off the roof.
No, he died age 72. He died in 1862, right? Okay. Imagine being 72 years old in 1862. Imagine that. It'd be like 300 years old today. Honestly.
Well, I tell you,
and he had a kid at age 63.
I tell you who'd be 2,000.
Just check his temperature.
I tell you who'd be 2,025 years old today if he was still alive.
Who's that?
Christ.
Jesus Christ. Exactly.
I think I've gone down.
That was interesting. You've gone down a rabbit hole.
I've just
now that hat you're wearing, Sam. You know that someone got kicked out of a restaurant in St Kilda. Have you spoken about that with Wayne?
No, we did. Yeah. Wayne said he's been to the restaurant. And
do you think we should all go there and maybe wear a hat? What do you think?
Well, we're being deliberately antisocial. If the woman or the person runs it doesn't want a client or person to be in their restaurant, that's fine. Mm-hmm. If I went with that hat, it looks like Make America Great Again, but it's not. I'm not sure if she could tell me to take that off, or am I taking the piss? But my point was that they said on their website that they said the free exchange, well, I read it out before, is that we encourage, we're non-discriminatory and please come along and feel safe to have a free space. And I said, you better take that off your website. It has the usual bullshit on it about thanking the elders and thanking your local, and we pay thanks to the people that if they want to give thanks so much to the people here before them, why don't they give the restaurant back to the indigenous people and then they can go and live somewhere else in a caravan somewhere.
They always, left wingers always stop kind of short of doing that, don't you? They always thank the, but they never give them their house.
It's probably a very nice restaurant, but please don't be a hypocrite. Don't say we respect people's opinions or it's a safe space or whatever. When it isn't, just don't put bullshit on your website. So there we are. We've staggered through this. Well done, everyone. If you want to listen to this, you can do it on what?
We can watch it.
You can watch it.
You can watch it, of course, on
thanks to
You Cannot Be Serious. But if you want to watch it, thanks to our technician over here, Sue Stanley, OAM, you can watch it on You Cannot Be Serious podcast on YouTube. So people like to see you, Dickie, and you, Ivan, and look at the people who actually speak. And Wayne is he's up and about.
He's a star.
Was he in a good mood?
Oh, very good mood, yeah. No, he comes in with a head of steam and by the time it's over he's deflated, but he's going beautifully, as we are. So that's it. Thank you very much.